Hey, so hello and welcome, Million Mom community. I am Shari Pack. My name is Shari Packard, and I'm so excited to be hosting this call today. I've been a Million Mom council mover. Let's start that again. I've been a Million Mom Council member now for just over 2 months, but I've been a community member, I should say, for well over 2.5 years. And as a member, I absolutely love these calls. I was always, I tried to make every single one of them, and I would just absorb as much of this information as I possibly could. Why I'm passionate about the Million Mom movement? Well, there's so many reasons that I can share, but the one that stands out the most is as a mom. I'm a mom of three, and I'm a new grandma to one, and it's very important to me that I help my kids create that foundation of health and wellness and the part and I want them to understand the part that nutrition plays in all of that, and the importance of knowing how to avoid toxins in our environment and how to become conscious consumers. And I'm also passionate about the Million Mom movement as a human. I'm a holistic nutrition and health coach, and I have a passion for health and wellness. And my goal is truly to empower others in their health. And one of some of the best ways to do that is through educating and creating awareness, which is what the Million Mile Movement is truly all about. Another thing I've learned along the way is that reaching big goals like this, because it truly is a mission of mine, reaching big goals like this is not so easy to do on your own, and definitely not as much fun as when you do it with others, when you link arms with others. And so, with that said, I'd like to introduce my amazing council members. We have Naiva Flory, we have Tess Ferreira, and Carmela Velarde. And with that, I believe that we can jump right into our in the news piece for today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sherry, for hosting today. So excited to have you on the council. And today we're going to be talking all about joint flex. And so, does rain really affect bone aches? I mean, I've had so many people share that when it rains, their bones ache. When it's cold outside, their bones ache. And I can attest to this being true for me too. Sometimes when it's extra cold, then my bones hurt. So, do you know somebody who thinks that can predict the rain um, or a storm coming because their bones start to hurt? This might sound really crazy, but multiple people report bone aches during rainy and cold days. So when their bones act up, they attribute it to nearing climate change. And with so many people claiming this, there must be some truth to it. So there was a Harvard study, and the study questioned that reality and took that studying more than decades worth of Medicare records, analyzing over 11 million doctor visits between 2008 and 2012. They matched that visit information with rainfall data from the US weather stations. They figured if rainy days increased aches and pains, then it would lead to people going to the doctor's office that day. Researchers found that complaints of joint or back pain did not change the rainy days when compared to sunny days. So, in relationship between the rain and achy joints, just hold that wise tale. Um, so, more than just a wise tale, hold on to your knees because the study wasn't entirely conclusive. It did not take into account that people who self medicate or care at home, plus, what if someone called the doctor's office that day that it rained? What's the chance that they would actually get a doctor's appointment on the same exact day? Even going further, the study only compared rainy days and sunny days. What about temperature? Research may be sparse, but the relationship between rain and joints is a general phenomenon. Some researchers believe the explanation is pretty simple. A change of barometric temp pressure related to weather or weight of the air presses down on some people, causing their own weight to exert more pressure on their bones. This is really interesting. So the injury recovery pack that we have with Curium has been really helpful for these people. So whether or not there's a concrete medical explanation, people do experience real pain and aches. If you or someone you know needs some relief, you can check out the injury recovery pack. And this helps to naturally ease joint and injury related pain. And so, in that pack specifically, it has the joint flex, which we're going to be talking more in depth about today and sharing an incredible story around that particular product from Purium. And it uses a variety of natural herbs and supports the body's response to inflammation and stimulates the rebuild of connective tissue. And then if you're looking at the injury recovery pack, then it has apothecary, which we know is high antioxidant and helps with inflammation and helps support healthy joint function. And the super xanthan, which we talked about in the past weeks in depth, which is also a high antioxidant and helps to reduce lactic acid buildup and improves athletic recovery time and reduce muscle tissue damage. And then we no longer have the ease spray. That's an old outdated product. So back to you, Sherry.
Thank you for that, Neva. And yeah, I love the Purium blogs because they're such a wealth of information, right? For us, whether we're brand partners or we are customers or you are sharing, you want to share the information with other people. The Purium blogs are such a great way to do that. And I love how they always at the end kind of sum it up and show you which other products work synergistically together, like what's recommended to take at the same time. And the apothecary comes up time and time again when talking about anything to do with inflammation, right? Because it's so great at helping to reduce the inflammation. And so now we're going to go into our presentation on joint flex. Share my screen. Everybody see that? All right. So with joint flex, we get to experience life unrestrained. So everybody likes the idea of being unrestrained, right? So why is joint health so vital? So it's vital for very many reasons. Some of those being daily mobility, quality of life, aging gracefully, or what I like to refer to as reverse aging, and protecting our bones and tissues from damage and injuries. So our joint health is so important, right? And anytime we think about joint health, the first thing that comes to mind for me is the mobility aspect to it, and we want to be able to stay, we want to make sure that our mobility is up to par long into, our older years. And that's usually something that we see start to diminish as time goes on. So knowing ways that we can help enhance our mobility and keep it strong as we age is so important. So what are some common joint issues that people can experience? So there's a very long list of joint related issues in our health, but some of the most common ones are arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, which is an autoimmune condition. There's joint pain and joint infections. There's common and chronic inflammation in the joints. Osteoarthritis is a very common one, and it's a degenerative joint disease. There's gout, lupus, and fibromyalgia. So I added fibromyalgia to this list, even though with fibromyalgia, you don't necessarily, or in fact, you won't be able to see any visible signs of damage in the joints, but it definitely can create a lot of pain within the joints. And now before we go into our natural aids and solutions for these, we wanted to briefly touch on what is what is unfortunately the most common go-to in an attempt to help relieve some of these symptoms. So pass it over to Tass. Is she here? I've seen her. Sharing. Oh, I see her.
Let me unmute her. Yay, welcome, Taz.
Hey, hi everyone. Thank you so much, Harry. Okay, so I will share. So drop me a 2 if you think you have an idea what could be the most common thing that someone's using when they're going through this, okay? Painkillers, right? So the number one thing that people are using are painkillers that are purchased over the counter. And what's the problem with painkillers, right? They have so much side effects. And with this, you're not actually looking at any root cause issues. You're looking at something temporary. And what's the point of these painkillers? They're there to reduce inflammation, right? Because this is what's going through your body when you're going through joint pains and rheumatoid arthritis. It's inflammation. So why not look at the root cause? Why is your body going through this inflammation? Acetaminophen, Tylenol, ibuprofen. How many people do we know? Drop me a one in the chat if we know people who are taking these over-the-counter medication. I know I certainly do. How about non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug? Or you can call it NSAIDs. This is something that's prescribed to people as young as teenagers. After a sports injury, they just give them some non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, right? Because they're like, that's going to help reduce all of the swelling and inflammation. But you know what? It doesn't. It causes more problems. And for me, someone who suffered from Crohn's for years, it actually aggravates your Crohn's. It aggravates your intestinal lining and it makes all your issues worse. So why painkillers, right? We just spoke about this, how this is not a solution. This is just a quick Band-Aid. So let's start looking at and having a different approach how to help people solve this issue and how to look at recovery and regenerative properties. The joint flex, which we're talking about today, can stimulate the rebuilding of connective tissues and aids the body response to inflammation, because this is actually what your body's going through. The apothecary, which we all love, which is a great pairing to lower inflammation, and super xanthan that we spoke in a previous call that helps lower our inflammation. So if you know someone who's going through any of these issues, we highly recommend to share this article with them. And in this article, we have a couple of medical studies as well, I believe from Harvard and other reputable schools, that you can send them, that they can read about it themselves. So they start understanding to not just look at quick fixes, topical remedies for their inflammation. We need to start looking at why this is happening. And you know what? Start thanking our body for going through this inflammation, because these little inflammation usually leads to bigger and greater things without symptoms. So let's start spreading this awareness and acutely listening to our body. Back to you, Sherry.
Thank you, Tess. So I'm going to go back to presentation. All right. Here we go. That's such great information, and that's why it was so important that we wanted to touch on what is most commonly used when we're dealing with pain and discomfort, joint pain, especially even muscle aches and pains, fevers, even, right? What's often used is an over-the-counter remedy, and these, as Tess was just highlighting, actually worsen the problem long term, right? Because it's weakening our bodies, and so if we want to go the more natural route, which is, of course, what we're always advocating here, joint flex is a definite great choice. And we're going to go into specifically why that is by looking at some of these, well, all of the specific ingredients in our joint flex. So this is the power of joint flex. Just gonna try to this over. Perfect. All right. So joint flex is a powerful combination of high quality natural superfood ingredients which help support our health. And the very first one on this list is MSM, and I've been practicing saying this one out loud, so bear with me, but it's short for methylsulfonylmethane. I don't think I could say that 5 times fast, but MSM is a source of sulfur, which is an important component of proteins, collagen, keratin, hormones, and enzymes. So it can be found in sulfur hot springs if you're lucky enough to live near any of those, and cruciferous vegetables like cauliflower and Brussels sprouts. It's a strong antioxidant, and it's capable of inactivating free radicals, which is pretty amazing. It decreases the production of inflammatory molecules, which is why it's such an effective anti-inflammatory. So it really helps in decreasing inflammation within the body. And there's even been some studies that have shown very promising results in osteoarthritis, specifically with knee pain. Next up, we have our boswellia, I believe is the proper pronunciation. And this is an Indian frankincense, which I was surprised to learn because I love frankincense and I recommend it for so many different things. And I've seen it do a world of wonders for so many different health issues. But I was not aware that boswellia is actually an Indian frankincense. So it's an extract from the Boswellia serrata tree, and it's an herbal remedy often used in Ayurveda. It's rich in boswellic acids, which are believed to have anti-inflammatory effects on the body. And in recent studies, boswellia was found to be effective in helping osteoarthritis by reducing pain and then improving the function in the affected joints. Next, we have our white willow. So white willow trees grow a bark that contains the chemical called salicin, which has anti-inflammatory effects. So salicin works similarly to the active ingredient in aspirin. So imagine that nature really does provide us with all of our natural ingredients, right? Needed to really help our bodies. We just have to look for them and we need to know where to find them. So it works to help reduce pain, and it's a strong antioxidant, and it's also immune boosting. Then we have horsetail herb. So the horsetail herb actually comes from the horsetail plant, and it's a source of silica. And silica is needed for our bones, cartilage, skin, hair, and collagen. And silica is key for maintaining healthy levels of calcium. Actually, at this moment, I just wanted to put it out to my council members that if you wanted to add anything to any of these ingredients, let me know. As I'm presenting, I can't see anybody, so I don't know if, so just unmute and feel free to jump in at any point.
Well, I can jump in and say something about boswellia. So
Yes,
boswellia,
please go.
the chat, this is natural Tylenol, and this is how they started off with inventing Tylenol. Is through that plant. How incredible is that, right? And it's not just Indian frankincense. I think frankincense in general, that is just the medical term for it, you know? So I mean, instead of jumping to take a Tylenol, which one Tylenol could block your NAC production and your glutathione and makes your liver stagnated, right? One Tylenol. So imagine if we can make that switch to Boswellian, what a difference. Back to you, Sherry.
Yes, that's so important. Boswellia, which has, like we said, so many different health benefits, not only for our joints. So imagine how much good you're doing to your body while also helping, right, to reduce a symptom that you're dealing with. Thanks for that, Tess. So then we have our curcumin extract. So it's known as the yellow compound found in turmeric. I like to call this the golden spice. So its use as a potent antioxidant and anti-inflammatory spice. It dates back nearly 4,000 years. Its anti-inflammatory properties make it an excellent choice for reducing inflammatory symptoms associated with rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, and other joint issues. This is another great extract to replace that aspirin or that Tylenol that you would reach for in a time where you're experiencing aches and pains, or have just experienced an injury, perhaps from a sport or from a workout. So it really, really helps to target the inflammation. Alfalfa whole leaf powder. So I learned something about alfalfa actually the other day. So I always thought it was a plant, but I didn't realize that it comes from, it's actually a legume. It's in the pea family. And it's also known as the father of all foods. So this legume is known to live to be more than 100 years old. How crazy is that? It's a rich source of many important vitamins, such as vitamins A, D, E, and K. It's also an exceptional source of amino acids and proteins. It also contains vital minerals such as magnesium, potassium, iron, calcium, and folic acid. So right there, we can see why alfalfa whole leaf powder is such an important addition to the joint flex, right? It helps with your calcium. It's got magnesium, all of these vital vitamins and minerals that are so important, the proteins, the super aminos, essentially, right? We're talking about our super aminos. Well, alfalfa has amino acids within them. And so before I go into these last two ingredients, I wanted to make a point of of noting that Joint Flex is actually not a vegan product, okay? And it's not a vegan product because of the following two ingredients. So the first one we have is velvet antler, and it's ethically sourced and harvested once per year from elk who roam free. So the velvet antler contains many beneficial compounds. It helps to increase natural levels of testosterone, which is so important for bone healing. Okay, it also contains natural glucosamine, which is beneficial for regenerating degradative tissues in the body. So when we think of degeneration of tissues in the body, we're thinking of osteoporosis, right? And osteoarthritis, sorry. So this is why velvet antler is such a key ingredient as well. It's also known for helping to improve recovery from injury. So that one really, I didn't know, I have to admit, I didn't know a whole lot about velvet antler. So by preparing for today's Fierce Friday, I really got to dive into some of these ingredients, specifically the velvet antler, and learn a little bit more about it. And because of how much information is actually accessible and out there in terms of how well it helps with muscle recovery and injury from, you know, and tissue or joint injury, it's something that I'm going to be making sure I have on hand, especially for my kids, having two kids that are heavily in sports, right? And the last ingredient is our green lipped mussel. So this extract comes from the soft shell part of the New Zealand mussel. Another thing I did not know, it contains fatty acids and amino acids to support joint health as well as glucosamine. So again, those keywords, fatty acids, amino acids, and the glucosamine, all extremely important to help support our joint health. That's it. I'm gonna share. All right. So now having really, you know, it's so important to dive deep into these ingredients. And I'm really loving these Fierce Friday calls because we get to do that. And we get to really understand the specific formulation, right? Nothing is there by accident. It all serves its purpose. And the other aspect of, you know, really going into the ingredients is, I believe, hearing from people who have experienced these ingredients firsthand and who have, you know, benefit from it in some way. And so I'm really happy and really excited to welcome a guest today. Her name is Chantal, and she has an amazing story with Joint Flex and how it's helped her personally. And so I'm gonna invite Chantal to unmute and share her story.
Hello.
Hi.
So, I have a great experience with Joint Flex because I have a few issues, degenerative disc disease, and the first time I was diagnosed with arthritis, I was 14. So that's been on and off a problem for me all my life. And also I'm a dodgeball player, so I use my throwing arm a lot, and I get a lot of elbow injuries from overusing the joint and the tendon. So I've found that I started using the Joint Flex because of the dodgeball, because my arm was so sore, and I was like, I don't want to have to stop playing dodgeball, so I'm going to try this Joint Flex. And so I started taking the Joint Flex. My arm was recovered 2 or 3 days after my game, when usually it would not recover. Like, it would still be sore a week later for my next game, and then I would just ruin it even more. But when I started taking the Joint Flex, the pain was gone like 3 days after the game where I first started taking it, and it didn't come back. So that was really good. And also, I'm not having any spinal pain anymore from the degenerative disc. And I haven't had a problem at all with other types of pain. I also have hypermobility, and it's suspected Ehlers-Danlos hypermobility. I don't know if anyone knows what that is, but so I'm way more flexible than I should be, and that causes instability in all of my joints and pain in all of my joints, and I'm not having a problem with any of that anymore. So Joint Flex has done me a lot of favors.
Wow, that is so amazing. Thank you for sharing. And I'm so excited. I'm so happy to hear that now, it hasn't, because you found Joint Flex and you're able to keep playing the sport that you love so much. I'm sorry, I missed it if you did say it, but how long have you been playing dodgeball?
I've been playing dodgeball since 2016, so quite a while. And I wasn't having too much pain from it at first. The joint injury from throwing started happening when I started losing weight from Purium and getting stronger because I was working out, and then my throws were harder and I was more like athletic about my game. And then I started getting the sports injuries. So the sports injuries started happening probably at the beginning of last season. So beginning of winter, I would say. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Wow. And is it something that I'm assuming that now you have Joint Flex on hand just in case
It's
you
on the
continue to
smart
play.
order.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. There
Yeah.
you go. And I think, after learning more about it myself, I really feel like it's something that is really great to have on hand, instead of reaching for that aspirin or a Tylenol, right, in the medicine cabinet, which I know that I grew up doing, right? Any ache and pain, that's the first thing that we did. That's the first thing that was, that my parents would give me. Um, I love that now we get to have a better option, much better option, right? That has so many ingredients that are not just incredible for our joint health and for injuries, but also just, our overall health. So thank you so much, Chantal, for coming on and sharing your amazing story. I'm so happy that have found that relief and you're able to keep playing your sports. Sports is so important. As a
Mhm.
mom of two boys in high level sports, I worry about that all the time. And I'm happy that I have this in the back of my mind. I know that it's available and that you've already seen success with it. So that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing.
Thanks for having me.
You're
You're
muted.
muted.
I muted myself. So now I'm going to pass it over to Naeva, who is going to share a bit about the sport pack with us because Joint Flex is a big part of that pack.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sherry, for all the information about the ingredients. Such great info. And we love the Joint Flex in my family because my older son is in football and he often complains about joint aches and pains and soreness in his muscles. And so he uses lots of our Purium products to help him for pre and post football practice and games. And just the Joint Flex has been so helpful to reduce inflammation, reduce the pain, and take him away from, in the past before we knew what Joint Flex did and was, he would definitely turn to aspirin or something that was more of a painkiller over the counter. And because we have this incredible way to just treat it with herbs and these, the animal products, but they're all ethically sourced. And I'm okay with that because he's getting amazing results with reducing his inflammation and pain. And I don't have to turn to the pharmaceuticals over the counter. So it's something that we use in our family and we absolutely love it. And I can't rave enough about it. But I'm going to go into our holistic fitness pack because this is a really incredible package that we came out with that can really help you to get everything you need. If you're somebody that works out a lot or is into fitness, this can really be the support that you need. And it has everything in it that we use every day, that my son uses every day in his football practice. So this is really great. This holistic fitness pack. If you haven't seen it before, we have had some Zooms about it. So there's a Zoom replay, and we'll be posting these links into Million Mom Movement Official when the replay goes up. So make sure that if you want the links that we shared today, you join Million Mom Movement Official on Facebook. So the holistic fitness pack starts with the cocoa hydrate, and this is really a great rehydration drink. It's way better than Gatorade or any of those other drinks out there that we may have turned to in the past for hydration. So rehydrating the body's does more than you may think. For example, rehydrating increases circulation and the delivery of nutrients. So in supporting this transportation, hydration helps the synthesis of water-soluble nutrients and fat-soluble nutrients into the liver. So the process helps your digestion as well. Poor circulation and poor hydration can lead to poor nutrient assimilation, which can take a toll on your health and fitness performance. So cocoa hydrate is our go-to. It tastes so good. It's so easy. My son actually takes it with him to school and puts it in his hydro flask during the day because it really helps him stay hydrated throughout the day. And he has football practice right after school. So he's drinking it throughout the day to rehydrate. And then the pineapple, so some of the things that are in cocoa hydrate is pineapple, which may help break down protein residue and might be left around your body from that could be toxic. The Ayurvedic combination of turmeric and black pepper has been known to help your body create healthy reaction to inflammation, and this is due to the curcumin that Sherry just talked about. So we just learned a whole bunch about that, and helping to rehydrate the body with these ingredients support the delivery of antioxidants and other elements directly into the intestinal wall where they're most needed. So really helpful. And then joint flex that we just learned about in depth. So much great information about joint flex. Absolutely suggest this for anybody that's having any kind of, post-workout pain or even everyday pain. I actually just got my mom to order this for her. She's been suffering with arthritis, and so this is one of the things I recommended to her for anti-inflammatory and to really help her with the pain level that brings to her. So we just went in depth into this, and there's so much more that we can learn. You can go ahead and read this article when we post it, but I can go into the rest of the ingredients in this pack. So besides the cocoa hydrate and the joint flex, it comes with apothecary. Again, apothecary is anti-inflammatory. We mentioned it a couple times already in this call. So great, high antioxidant. It's the highest antioxidant fruit on the planet. It's so great for reducing inflammation and also getting really deep sleep. It helps to create natural melatonin in the body, which can really help athletes to get that deep sleep that's needed for both the rebuild itself and also for your workouts and performance. It could really help with the avoid the risk of injury. So anti-inflammatory is the key with so many of these things and can really help reduce inflammation in the body is our number one thing. So there's so much more that we could share about this pack. There's more products in it, but that's just the beginning of what comes in the Holistic Fitness Pack. So definitely look into that if that's something that you would like to incorporate in your daily life. Back to you, Sherry.
Thank you for that, Naiva. I love that pack. We have all the aspects of that pack, except for the joint flex, which I will now be ordering myself. Like I said, I think it's great to keep on the back end with kids in sports for sure, especially because I also just started training myself. So I think it's a good idea. I think I'm definitely gonna order one. Before we go to our pledge, I wanted to know if Tess, did you have any stories or anything you wanted to share on joint flex?
I mean, joint flex is so amazing. Like, we're talking about arthritis and all of these things, right? And whenever we talk about arthritis, I know a lot of people just go to, hip pains, leg pains. But how about, when you're writing a lot and you get that carpal tunnel, and these are things that we just disregard, and we really don't think of it as arthritis. But you know what? It is. It's inflammation. Our bodies are screaming from all of these little things that lead up to hip pains, to joint pains, to other serious things. So let's just become really hyper intuitive of what's going on with our bodies. And when that's happening, maybe start popping a joint flex, right? And there's something about joint flex that I really, really love. So like Chantal was talking about for injuries, for degenerated disc, right? And dodgeball. So there's something called distal injury that the joint flex actually helps regenerate. So that means, so let's say you were 10 years old and you fell off your bike and you fell on that specific scab on your knee, and now you're 30 years later and you keep falling on that exact spot, and you're like, how come? How am I falling on that exact spot? Well, that is distal injury. That means that was not able to heal from years ago, decades ago. And in the joint flex, with the synergistic pairing of all of those ingredients, it helps regenerate those cells. It helps regenerate those cartilages so that you don't have to go through that again. So that's why when Chantal said, 3 days recovery from joint flex? I mean, this is why. These are the reasons. This is the science behind it. We're not just telling you why it works, we're explaining to you how it works. Hope that helps, Sherry.
It absolutely does. Thank you for adding that. And actually, Dave, our formulator, right? He and founder, he went really into depth with this past week when he shared about his own injuries. So he was in a horrific car accident, and he talked about how Joint Flex has really been helping him with his recovery. And so, if anyone's missed that video, I'm sure that we can find the link and share that, because that was really informative as well. And again, he spoke a lot about like what you were just saying, Tess, about the regeneration process, right? So that's really important, along, of course, with the inflammation that it would cause. And so, do we head over to our pledge? All right. So I was going to ask Chantel, would you be willing to read our pledge for us today?
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
It says, I pledge to defend the health of myself and my family. I pledge to choose organic foods that are minimally processed and free of man-made ingredients. I pledge to read labels and educate myself on all aspects of clean living. I understand that my actions today will positively impact the health and environment of future generations. I am committed to sharing this movement of many. I am the Million Mom Movement.
Muted. Sure.
Again. Thank you so much, Chantel, for reading that for us. And now, before we go to our call to action, I think we have some time. We can open it up to the field and see if we have any questions.
I think we have 2 questions in the chat.
Okay.
We have a question from Siva. She asked, can we give more details how the 2 animal products are ethically sourced? Does anyone of my council members want to take this question?
Well, I mean, I see that Naiva here posted a reply that you can get more information with all the product in boards. There's a section for sharing Purium, all products, and then the product portfolio. And this is where the information goes more into depth. Also, like I just mentioned, Dave's call on Wednesday night, he actually went into more depth about how they are ethically sourced, because I actually was wondering that same thing. And so I know that a lot of that information was shared on his call. So that would be another great source. What I mentioned in today's call was basically that they are, I know that David mentioned that they are ethically sourced in the sense that it's only harvested once a year, and that the elk are Roma-free, and that the procedure is painless for them. But again, to know even more than that, if you wanted more information, those would be the resources that I would look for.
So
Nayaba?
what I understand from the velvet antler when it falls, because I live a plant-based vegan lifestyle, is that there's no harm to the animal. That the elk it's an elk that it falls naturally off, and then they cultivate the velvet antler from their antlers that are already fallen.
That's my understanding as well, that it's naturally sourced and that yeah, it sheds every year anyways. And so the way that they source it, it's not by harming the animal or harvesting it off the animal, but that it sheds and that's harvested.
I
And
think
like,
we have
yeah, going into any of the calls that Dave has done in the past about it, you may also source some additional information on that as well, because he can go way more into depth into those things.
We have another question in the chat. Do you recommend using the joint flex on a daily basis or more as needed for joint pain and inflammation, like a painkiller?
That's a very good question. And, I think that is something that is very individual. So if you're somebody who tends to have a lot of joint aches and pains, especially if you are, you have a diagnosis where the joints are affected, then I would look at it more as something to add to your daily routine. Whereas if you don't, you might just want to have it on hand in case, like we said, as something were to arise, whether it be, joint aches and pains or an injury of sorts, then it would be a good thing to have. So I think it could depend.
I'd love to chat on this as well. Is a lot of these things, if we think about homeopathics, right? Herbal and food medicine is really more like a homeopathic, where the things that we do daily compound over time. And so by taking these things daily, you're reducing the inflammation in your body. So if you're somebody that is prone to aches and pains, or like my son who's in sports and practices every
Right.
single day, with the joint flex, it's recommended that you take 6 capsules. And so I know that when we're taking, our aminos and our joint flex and superxanthin and all these other things, it can be a handful of capsules. And what I've learned is that it's actually better to spread them out throughout the day. So instead of taking 6 joint flex at one time, you might take 2 in the morning, 2 at noon, and 2 in the evening. Or if that's too complicated, maybe you do 3 in the morning and 3 in the evening, which is what my son does. But breaking that up and taking it over time so your body can absorb it is really important, because otherwise you're overloading the systems with a whole bunch at one time, and you might not see the effects as if you added a little bit over time on a daily basis to really see the compounding effects. And for my son, the first few days he was like, it doesn't even work, mom. Like I'm still in pain. And I was giving him the pothecary at night. I was giving him the superxanthin and the joint flex and all the things to help with inflammation and to help with his pain and muscle soreness and muscle recovery. And I found that after about a week, then he started to notice like, oh, wow, mom, like it actually is helping. And for him, it took us like really, instead of taking 6 in the morning, him taking 3 in the morning, 3 in the evening, and then doing that over time so he could see the results of the inflammation going down and the pain decreasing. So with I always think about it in terms of homeopathics. And a lot of times with homeopathics, you have to take it over time to be able to really see the compounding effects. So that's my spin on it.
I love that actually, Naiva, because that speaks to prevention, right? So why wait for something to happen? Why wait for that inflammation? Why wait for that injury when you can be preventing it long term, right? With strengthening your body, strengthening the joints, with all of these superfood ingredients, right? That are formulated exactly for that. So I love that that opinion, that aspect of it where we're focusing on prevention. Okay, I think we have a question. Someone raised their hand. Teresa. Okay, Teresa, go ahead.
Hi, I was actually the one that asked that question because I did add it in after being diagnosed a year and a half ago with rheumatoid arthritis. So as I was hearing this, I just want to make sure that was a good plan to be taking it. And I'm doing 3 in the morning, 3 in the evening. And another positive, I don't know if it was mentioned, is I kind of did that too because it was the 3 and then free. And so it's kind of set up to be ordered that way. But as I was listening, I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't be taking this, regularly, but I really appreciated what Naiva said. So I'm on the right track, and yeah, just a little plug that is 3 and free. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. And that's a great point. It is part of our 3 and free program. So yes, absolutely a great thing to be adding to your cart. And then like Teresa said, taking it, like Naiva said, taking it, and letting it accumulate within the body rather than trying to overload the body in a time of need. Any more questions?
I just wanted to add that because I have it in my smart order and I do benefit from the 3 and then free, I usually use the free one to share it with other people so that they can experience it. And then usually that they get so much benefit from it that they'll start using it more regularly as well.
That's amazing. Such a good idea. Thank you for sharing that. We have a question here. I see in the chat, is the 3 and free only for individual purchases, or does this include when these products are in bundles too? It's a good question. Tess, Naiva?
I believe it's
Yeah.
individual. Yeah, it does not have
Yeah,
to
that's
be
what I was thinking. Okay.
it's just Purium's way of rewarding you for always being a loyal customer and ordering it. And because you love it, they're like, you know what? Here's a free one to share
Mhm.
and pass on with others.
That's right. Okay. So I think that we are going to head over to our call to action. So I think Tess, thank you.
You know, so I wanted to mention, like these calls that we're doing every week. What's the point of our calls? Our calls are all about once you know better, you do better, right? We started off these calls about glyphosate and talking about Cheerios, which, as moms, we are the leaders of the home. We have the purchasing powers. Everything that comes into the house, it's usually because of us, right? And once we make a change, our entire family makes this change. So when we know something new, we know maybe not taking aspirin, maybe making a little switch, this changes the entire family. But we need to get the word out. It's not fair, it's not right to just keep this information to ourselves, for ourselves, because we live in a social media world. And if you go on Instagram, you see so many people talking about all kinds of things. And we know we've tried everything. We know what works and we know what does not work. So we're here to show you the value and the solutions through science, through food, through nutrition of what actually works. So we need to help reach more people faster. Please go public with all of this information that you heard today. You can go back and listen to the calls. You can take a video. You can do a screenshot. You can share one of the articles that we spoke about in the news, that we spoke about the painkillers, where we spoke about Boswellian. That could be a great way to start the conversation. Are you taking aspirin? Do you know what side effects aspirin can actually cause? Well, why not take a natural form, the original form? Where did it actually come from? Most of pharmaceuticals came from plants, but we got lost along the way. So let's show people that we have the solutions. So go on your social media, go on Instagram and reach out and post something that you learned today. Okay, post something about joint flex, whether it be the Boswellian or the curcuma, which I think the curcuma, the turmeric, is something so simple to talk about. How many people do we know that have turmeric in their pantry or who take curcumin capsules? This is something that so many people have been taking. But how about showing them an easier way that they can take it through joint flex? Exactly, golden spice lattes. There's so many different ways. So just giving them the switch of how that special ingredient working together synergistically with all the other properties can actually regenerate your body effectively and prolong effects as well. So go online and tag us and start spreading the word about 1,000 moms or was it moms? No, MOM is movement of many in 100 communities committing to spread health, well-being, and economic opportunity around organic superfood nutrition with at least 10 families. Imagine how many people we can start reaching. And you know what? Tag all of these people in your post. When you do this Instagram post, tag them and encourage them to repost it as well, because this is how we help build this community together and invite them onto next week's call. So I'm going to pass it on to Naiva to close us out.
Wonderful. Such great information. And yes, let's grow this movement. Let's become a million, the movement of many and a million people strong. That's really moving this movement forward, because the more numbers we are, the more we can share this positive word and the more we can grow our community, and we all love community. So I'm going to share my screen again and let you all know that next week we're going to be talking all about nourishing your adrenals with Be Energetic. So be the solution with Be Energetics. It's going to be an incredible topic. We're so excited for this one, and we invite you to come join us and come learn more about how you can really rebuild your adrenals and get the most benefits out of the Be Energetic, just like we went over the joint flex today. And then I also want to share with you all the ways that you can participate in being being in our community. So if you aren't yet a part of our community, then we'd love to invite you to join us on our Facebook page. Go and like the Facebook page, Million Mom Movement. The Million Mom Movement is where the events are posted weekly. That event that I just showed you was on our Facebook page. So please go over there and join the event. You can also invite people to that event. And all of the events for the month of October are now up and ready to go. So please go and click join on each one of those. Invite your team members, invite your friends to join the ones that are there, repost them, share them in your stories, share them out so that way more people can be aware and join us on next week's presentation and beyond. And then also join our Facebook group, Million Mom Movement Official, where this replay will be posted. And as well as this replay, we will post all of the links that we shared today. So if there's any of the links that you wanted to go look at in addition, then you can go look at those links and share them out farther into your community. Next, we'd love to invite you to follow us on Instagram. If you are on Instagram and you're posting and you tag us, I can repost you, and those posts get posted across all of our social media platforms. So it's a great way to get seen and just see what you're doing, you making a shake, or you sharing this with your children, or having a healthy happy hour superfood social in your community. Don't forget, this month's hashtag is PHP Get Together, and tag the Million Mom Movement as well when you're posting so that we can repost what you're doing and inspire the rest of our community to use that hashtag as well. And you can use our Million Mom Movement hashtags as well. And so by using these hashtags, you make it so that way we can find you. And when people click on it, they can see all of the posts that we've made with these different hashtags on it and get inspired by our movement. If you're on Twitter, or now called X, need to edit this graph, you can follow us there. Everything from Instagram gets reposted to that page. And lastly, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's where the replays get posted. After Fierce Friday is over, within the next few hours, the replay goes up, and that's the very first place you can find the replay. And of course, you can find all of our past replays there as well. So please go subscribe to that YouTube channel. And I'm just so grateful for each and every one of you being here, a part of our Million Mom Movement. For those of you who are brand new to this call today, if you got inspired by what you heard, make sure and reach back out to the person who invited you here, because they care about you. They invited you here because they care about you, they love you, and they wanted to share this message with you. So make sure and have a conversation, share your takeaways, and join our movement. Back to you, Sherry.
Thank you so much, Nayeva. And thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for joining me for my very first hosted Fierce Friday call. I hope you enjoyed all of the information. And don't forget to go follow us, and definitely YouTube. YouTube is the place you really, all of our videos go there, and there's such a great information source to share with people on so many different topics. So hope everybody enjoyed. Thank you so much, and we'll see you all next week.